7 days. That's all the time Elena Rybakina had to go back to the drawing board after Iga Swiatek handed her a 6-2, 6-3 beating in the Toronto final. And now, less than a week later, they're doing it again. Cincinnati quarters, Thursday at 7 p.m. on Stadium Court. 14 career meetings, 7-6 to Swiatek overall, 5-3 on hard courts specifically. That hard court advantage matters here because this is the exact surface where Swiatek has consistently exposed the gaps in Rybakina's game. The odds agree with that history. Swiatek opens at 1.53, Rybakina at 2.49. That's not a massive gap on paper, but when you break down what just happened in Toronto and what Rybakina needs to actually fix mechanically, tactically, and mentally to reverse this result, you start understanding why this match feels so loaded for Swiatek, even on a surface where Rybakina has been nearly untouchable all season. Rybakina's hard court numbers in 2026 are flat out spectacular. 29 wins and 6 losses on hard, 42 and 12 overall. She won the Australian Open, beating Arina Sabalenka 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 in a three-set fight that showed real physical endurance under pressure. She took Stuttgart on clay, dismantling Karolina Muchova 7-5, 6-1. A completely different surface, completely different tactical problem, solved without breaking a sweat. Over the past decade, she's won 71% of her career matches, 403 wins against 164 losses. Her aggregate hard court record over recent seasons sits at 209 wins and 87 losses. That isn't a player drifting into a quarter-final on reputation. That is a player in the form of her career. But here's where it gets complicated because form and this specific matchup are two very different conversations. Swiatek, ranked number 5 right now, has just demonstrated in Toronto 8 days ago that she knows exactly how to dismantle Rybakina's system when she herself is locked in. And right now, she absolutely is. Swiatek's path through Cincinnati has been sharp. She beat Emiliana Arango 6-3, 6-0 in round 1. Then she dropped the opening set to Maria Sakkari before flipping the match 4-6, 6-1. 6-1, the speed of that mental reset between sets tells you everything about where her head is right now. Then Diane Parry in the fourth round, 6-3, 6-3. In that Parry match, Swiatek scored 64 total points to Parry's 48 and hit 27 winners. She served at 71% efficiency on first serve, winning 27 of 38 points. On second serve, she won 53%, 8 from 15. She broke serve 5 times, converting 50% of her breakpoint opportunities, 5 from 10. One double fall the entire match. She's conceded just one set in this whole tournament and is winning 59% of all points played here. That's not someone easing through a draw, that's someone finding their cleanest tennis at the most important moment. Now let's get into the stroke level technical realities of what this match actually looks like. Rybakina's serve is the most penetrating flat delivery on the WTA tour right now, and the mechanics behind it explain why. She runs a compact backswing with an exceptionally fast pronation snap at contact. The racket face stays square through the ball, a fraction longer than most servers, which is why her deliveries feel like they're on top of the returner before they've had time to process the flight path. Against most players, the serve plus one pattern follows naturally. The first strike serve opens the court, and the flat backhand or the down the line forehand finishes the point before a rally develops. The issue against Swiatek is that Swiatek's return positioning cuts off that entire pattern at the source. She doesn't stand deep and absorb the pace. She positions forward and early, taking the ball on the rise and removing the angle Rybakina expected to exploit. In Toronto, that return depth adjustment essentially neutralized the wide serve to the deuce side, which is Rybakina's primary pattern opener. For Cincinnati, Rybakina needs to go wider and more consistently to the ad court, targeting Swiatek's two-handed backhand from well outside the singles line, rather than relying on serve placement into the body or center of the court, which gives Swiatek exactly the time she needs to redirect. Swiatek's forehand topspin, is the other major biomechanical variable that defines this matchup. She contacts the ball at shoulder height or higher on her heaviest cross-court forehand, generating topspin in the range of 3000 to 3500 RPMs. What that does tactically is force Rybakina to handle a ball that kicks up into her strike zone well above where she naturally likes to hit. Rybakina is a flat striker who loads her forehand at a comfortable chest to shoulder contact window. When Swiatek loops that heavy topspin to Rybakina's forehand corner, it pulls her back behind the baseline and raises the contact point 6 to 8 inches above her natural hitting zone. That's where the errors start creeping in for Rybakina. Not because she can't handle topspin in isolation, but because when that ball kicks past her comfortable window and she starts reaching, her forehand loses its flat penetration. It becomes shorter, more defensive. And the moment Rybakina's forehand goes defensive, Swiatek steps inside the baseline and redirects the point at will. Rybakina's footwork response in these situations has been inconsistent throughout their hard court meetings. At her best, she takes a small shuffle step back, resets, finds the ball at a comfortable height, and then unloads. Against Swiatek's pace and depth, there genuinely isn't time for that reset step. The ball comes back too quickly, which means Rybakina has to make a hard choice. Stay aggressive and accept more unforced errors early in rallies, or fall into a defensive baseline exchange where Swiatek's consistency is statistically dominant. The psychological layer sitting underneath all of this cannot be brushed past. Rybakina lost to Swiatek 6 to 2, 6 to 3 in Toronto 8 days ago. That scoreline is a mental imprint as much as a tactical one. When two elite players meet this quickly after a lopsided result, the player who lost faces a specific internal tension. Change the game plan drastically and risk playing outside natural patterns, or trust your weapons and bet on small adjustments being enough to flip the outcome. Rybakina, historically, handles adversity by leaning harder into her serve and her flat ground stroke aggression. She doesn't fundamentally tinker with her identity as a player, and that consistency is actually a genuine strength. But Swiatek already holds the recent data on how to handle exactly that approach. Swiatek enters this match carrying momentum, tactical clarity, and the confidence of knowing she solved this specific puzzle very recently. She also won this exact tournament in 2025, and that venue familiarity is real, even if it's subtle. Stadium Court in Cincinnati is a place that holds positive muscle memory for her. That combination of recent match blueprint, physical form, and venue comfort is compounding in Swiatek.